Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to go beyond all the AI hype and really ask, can it know what it knows? We're dissecting OpenAI's new SimpleQA benchmark,
Right.
which is like a truth test for these large language models.
Yeah, this is a really crucial development because it addresses a real gap in how we evaluate AI.
Yeah.
I mean, previous benchmarks kind of became easy for AI to game, so to speak.
Right.
But SimpleQA really makes even GPT-4 work for its answers.
Oh, yeah. SimpleQA is built on like over 4,000 of these really carefully designed questions that are just seeking facts and they're serious about it.
Oh, yeah.
These questions have to have like single indisputable answers, kind that can be verified, and they don't change over time.
Yeah, and the process they used to build this data set is amazing.
Yeah.
OpenAI used a multi-stage approach where they had AI trainers generating questions and then independent trainers verifying answers.
Wow.
They even estimated a 3% error rate within the benchmark itself.
That's wild.
Yeah, it shows real attention to detail.
That's impressive. And the diversity of SimpleQA is noteworthy, too.
Yeah.
It covers everything from science and tech to like pop culture.
It really does.
And they're pulling from sources like Wikipedia, Fandom, and IMDb.
Right.
They've even got questions about TV shows and video games.
Yeah, and that diversity is important because it forces the AI to really understand and retrieve information.
Oh, interesting.
Not just recognize patterns in the questions.
Right.
The answer types are diverse, too. So it's not just like dates or names, it's numbers, locations.
Okay.
So it prevents the AI from using these like little simple tricks to answer.
So how do they actually use this to evaluate these language models then?
Well, so they grade the AI responses on 3 levels. Incorrect and not attempted. So, for example, if the question asks which Dutch soccer player scored a specific goal in the World Cup, and the AI says, "Wow, Weghorst," that's correct.
Okay.
Virgil van Dijk would be incorrect.
Got it.
And just not answering the question at all would be not attempted.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do those grades translate into an overall score for the AI?
Right. So they use this thing called correct given attempted, which is the percentage of correct answers out of the total attempted answers. And then also overall correct, which is the percentage of correct answers out of all questions.
Okay.
And these are combined into what's called an F score, which is a common metric in machine learning.
The F score.
Yeah.
But there's a catch, right?
Yeah. So the thing about the F score is that it encourages models to guess, even when they have really low confidence. So if the model thinks there's even a slightly better than 50% chance of getting it right, it's better for it to just guess than to skip the question entirely.
Oh, wow.
It's like almost like rewarding risky behavior in the AI.
So it doesn't necessarily reflect true understanding.
Exactly, yeah. To get around this, OpenAI has been exploring an alternative scoring system where there's actually a negative penalty for incorrect answers, which pushes the AI to only answer when it's really confident.
Interesting.
This actually gets much closer to measuring like genuine knowledge.
And that brings us to the heart of the matter, AI calibration.
Right.
Does the AI know how well it's doing? Can it judge its own confidence accurately?
Yeah, that is a key question.
Yeah.
And to test this, OpenAI used 2 methods to assess calibration.
Yeah.
First, they directly asked the AI to state its confidence as a percentage.
Oh, like how sure are you about it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how sure are you?
Interesting. What was the second method?
The second method was they asked the AI the same question multiple times.
Okay.
And they observed how often it gave different answers.
Interesting.
So if the AI is truly confident, it should give the same answer every time.
Right, okay.
So this reveals its confidence level based on how consistent its answers are.
Okay, so what did they find? Was the AI a good judge of its own knowledge?
Well, the results were a little bit mixed.
Okay.
There was a positive correlation between stated confidence and accuracy.
Okay.
Which means that higher confidence usually meant a higher likelihood of getting it right. Okay,
so that's at least a little encouraging.
It is, yeah. It suggests that there is some internal awareness there.
Yeah.
However, and this is important, all of the models, and especially the smaller ones, tended to overestimate their confidence.
Oh, so even when they sounded sure, they weren't necessarily right.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
The smaller models were especially prone to this overconfidence compared to the larger models.
Interesting. So the bigger models were better at knowing what they didn't know.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Okay.
They still overestimated their confidence, but not as dramatically, and this highlights a crucial point.
Yeah.
Even the most advanced models are far from perfect.
And how do different models perform overall on SimpleQA?
Right.
Including those from OpenAI and Anthropic.
Yeah. So, as you might expect,
okay,
model size was generally correlated with performance.
Okay.
So the larger models tended to answer more questions correctly. Okay.
But even the top performers were far from perfect.
So even the super AIs struggled with what seemed like simple, factual questions.
That's right. And this raises important questions about the real-world applications of AI.
Yeah.
If they're struggling with these basic questions, how can we trust them with more complex tasks?
It's a sobering thought.
It is.
Yeah.
We need to be really cautious and critically evaluate these AI capabilities.
Right.
And SimpleQA gives us a valuable tool for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned earlier that SimpleQA uses these short fact-seeking questions.
Right.
Why is that distinction so important?
Well, that's a great question.
Okay.
Focusing on short fact-seeking questions actually offers a few advantages.
Okay.
First, it simplifies the task of evaluating factual accuracy.
Right.
Imagine like trying to assess the truthfulness of a long, complex AI essay.
Right.
That would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So by keeping the questions short and concise,
Okay.
researchers can create this really controlled environment.
It's like giving the AI a quick pop quiz instead of a final exam.
Makes sense.
This approach lets them assess the AI's ability to just pull out specific facts without all the complexities of language and argumentation.
But real-world problems don't usually come as these simple questions.
Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah.
Real-world scenarios are messy, and focusing on just these simple questions doesn't guarantee that the AI can handle open-ended prompts or complex reasoning or situations requiring subjective judgment.
So SimpleQA is a good tool.
Yeah.
But it's just one piece of the puzzle when evaluating AI.
Precisely. It's an important step.
Yeah.
But we have to acknowledge its limitations.
Right.
Just being able to answer these factual questions correctly doesn't mean it can handle the complexities of the real world.
Okay.
It's like thinking that someone who can list all the elements on the periodic table can automatically synthesize a new chemical.
Right.
It's not the same thing.
You also mentioned the two methods for measuring AI calibration.
Right.
You explained the first one, where the AI directly states its confidence.
Yeah.
Can you go into more detail about that second method?
Sure.
Where you ask the same question repeatedly?
Yeah, so basically what happens is you ask the AI the same question a bunch of times.
Okay.
Let's say 100 times.
Okay.
And because there's this inherent randomness in how language models generate responses, you won't get the exact same answer every single time.
Right.
Even if the question is identical.
So it's kind of like flipping a coin, like even a fair coin won't land on heads every time.
Exactly. That's a good analogy.
Okay.
So by looking at how often the AI gives different answers, researchers can then figure out how confident the AI actually is.
Okay.
The more often it gives a specific answer, the more confident it is in that answer.
Got it.
It's like if you had a group of experts and they all kept agreeing on the same diagnosis, you'd assume they're pretty confident.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it's like a way to peek into how the AI is thinking without actually asking it to think about its thinking.
Exactly. And what they found using this method supported the findings from the first method.
Okay.
Across the board, these AI models were overconfident.
Okay.
Especially the smaller ones.
Wow.
So how often they gave a specific answer didn't really match up with how accurate that answer actually was.
So even when the AI seemed really sure of itself and kept giving the same answer, it wasn't always right.
Exactly. And this tendency to be overconfident, especially in the smaller models, has really big implications. Because if we start using these AI systems in the real world, like for medical diagnoses or financial forecasting, and they keep overestimating how accurate they are, that could lead to some serious problems.
Absolutely. So we need AI that doesn't just give us answers, but can also tell us how much we can trust those answers.
Exactly. That's the challenge.
Yeah.
How do we teach AI to know what it knows?
Right.
It's not just about making them smarter. It's about making them more self-aware.
Right.
And knowing the limits of their own knowledge.
And that's something that we as humans struggle with too sometimes.
You're absolutely right. It's a fundamental part of critical thinking.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to figure out how to teach that to these AI systems.
It's a weird paradox. We're building these systems that can do these amazing things.
Yeah.
But they can't answer a simple factual question.
Right.
And they think they're smarter than they really are.
But that's what makes this research so interesting.
Yeah.
By finding these weaknesses and creating tools like SimpleQA, we can start to make AI more trustworthy and reliable.
Yeah, definitely.
But ultimately more useful.
So given all these insights, what are some promising approaches to fixing AI calibration? How do we go beyond just knowing there's a problem to actually solving it?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? One area researchers are looking at is developing ways to teach AI systems to be better at estimating their own uncertainty.
Okay.
So it's not just about getting the answer right or wrong, but also about understanding and conveying how sure they are about that answer.
So instead of just giving a yes or no answer, the AI would say something like, I'm 80% sure this is right, but you might want to double check.
Exactly. It's about moving away from those black and white answers and being more transparent about the shades of gray in between.
So it's like teaching AI to be more humble.
In a way, yes.
That's pretty cool. How would that change the way we use AI?
It would definitely require us to be more critical of AI-generated information.
Okay.
We can't just blindly trust everything it tells us anymore. We need to learn to interpret its answers in light of its confidence level.
So it's more of a partnership between humans and AI.
Exactly. We bring our strengths to the table, like critical thinking and ethical decision-making. And AI can support us with its speed and ability to process vast amounts of data.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
For this partnership to work, AI needs to be honest about what it doesn't know.
That makes a lot of sense, especially in fields like healthcare.
Absolutely. The stakes are high in healthcare.
Yeah.
You don't want an AI making a life or death decision without acknowledging its uncertainty.
Right. Like if an AI is helping a doctor diagnose a patient, it needs to say something like, I'm pretty sure this is what it is, but you should probably run some more tests just to be safe.
Exactly. It's about giving the human expert all the information they need to make the best decision.
It sounds like teaching AI to express uncertainty is going to be super important moving forward.
Oh, without a doubt.
Are there other ways we can improve AI calibration?
Well, another exciting avenue is incorporating human feedback into the training process.
Okay.
So we can actually have humans evaluate the AI's answers and give feedback on both the accuracy and the confidence level.
But the AI is constantly learning and improving based on what humans tell it.
That's the idea.
Right.
It's like having a teacher guide the AI's development.
It's fascinating to think that we have a role to play in shaping AI's understanding of the world.
It's a collaborative effort, really. We're not just building these systems, we're helping them learn and grow.
You mentioned earlier that smaller AI models tend to be more overconfident.
Right.
Are there specific techniques to address that?
Yeah, there's a technique called regularization that can be really helpful here.
Okay.
It's a way of penalizing the AI during training for being too confident.
So it's like telling it to tone it down a bit.
Exactly. It encourages the AI to be more cautious and only express high confidence when it's truly justified.
This whole deep dive into SimpleQA and AI calibration has been really eye-opening.
I agree. It's a fascinating field.
As we wrap up, what are some key takeaways you hope listeners will remember?
I think the most important thing to remember is that AI is still in its early stages.
Right.
It's a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet.
Right.
We can't just blindly trust everything it tells us. We need to be critical thinkers and question its outputs.
Okay.
Especially when the stakes are high.
Right.
Ultimately, it's our responsibility to ensure that AI is used safely and ethically.
That's a really important point. It's easy to get caught up in the hype and forget that AI is just a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. It all depends on how we choose to use it.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
I agree. It's been great.
And to our listeners, we hope this has inspired you to keep learning about the fascinating world of AI.
Absolutely. There's so much more to explore.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.